morning. Special good morning to people that are watching this online. Very special good morning to Megan if you're watching this online. Been gone for 2 weeks. We have Bono and Bon Jovi trying to lead worship. So, whenever you can get back, that would be great. I want to give you just a brief ministry update on what's going on with the college students, because this has been an exciting week for me. I am so happy that we are at this point. For about a year, I've talked about doing an Adopt a College Student program or something like that, and this weekend, we really launched what that idea has become. And we had about 5 to 6 college students in 3 houses just meeting with families and having dinner with them. And that may not seem like a lot, but to those college students, to get off campus, to get a meal, to have Christian adults take an interest in them and be willing to invite them into their home, to be a part of the chaos of home instead of the chaos of campus, is a fantastic break. And we have 4 other students that are going to be meeting at some time this month, because this weekend didn't work. I'm excited to see what God does with this. Because recently at the Catalyst Conference, the author of a book on how to get youth back into the church said essentially, warmth and openness is the new cool. And we have a lot of warmth in this church and in our homes, and not a whole lot of cool. So I'm glad that we can use what we've been given. And just wanted to give you that update about what's going on. If you'd like to host, or if you're a college student that's saying, that sounds great, come talk with me, let me know, and we'll set you up when we start that. My daughter was doing great through service until I started talking. So how's your morning going? So we're talking about Proverbs, and I think we get wisdom wrong in our culture. The view that we have of wisdom is really, really boring. We want action, right? In movies, they have what's called the Indy ploy, named for, I was about to say, First Service knew this, guys. Like, if you don't get Indiana Jones, it's going to be a rough morning. Indiana Jones. Because Indiana Jones doesn't plan well, does he? In fact, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's a scene where they need to steal this airplane, and they're surrounded by Nazis. And Sulla, Indy, and Marion are hiding behind this hill, and Sulla looks at Indy and says, "Indy, what's the plan?" And Indy looks back at Sulla and says, "I'm just making this up as I go." And then leaves. Like, that plane's not going anywhere, guys. It can stay there a little bit. You can think this through, but no. It's more exciting and it's more engaging if we think that we can blindly rush into situations and trust that by our own wits and our own abilities, we can make it better. In the newest Star Wars movie, Rey, talking to Han Solo, says, "Is that even going to work? Is that even possible?" And Han Solo says, "I never asked that until I've already done it." That's how you get frozen in carbonite, people. That's how that face happens. But we want this for our life. We want to be played by Harrison Ford. And lest you think this is just Harrison Ford characters, in MacGyver, do I really need to explain where this happens in MacGyver? This is all of MacGyver, right? Well, I'm locked in this building, but with this toothpick and floss, I can make a grappling hook. No. But we like that idea that by our own wits, by our own cleverness, we can just rush into action and make it turn out all right. And you don't just see this in movies, you see this in songs. The song Wild Thing, for instance, is not a great model for decision making. Frankie Valli and Wild Thing, like, what year are we in? with Wild Thing, I Think I Love You. Doom, 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 doom. But I want to know for sure, so come on, hold me tight. I love you. That's not a great model for decision making, but we wouldn't like the song nearly as much as if it was Wild Thing, I Think I Love You. But I want to know for sure, so I talked to my parents, some trusted advisors, and prayed about it. Doom, 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 doom. I believe we should probably date, but take it slowly. That's not the same thing, right? We like action. We like youth. We like making mistakes and being able to get out of them. But if you think back to the mistakes you've made, haven't you had some near misses? Haven't you had some you wish you could take back? We want action, excitement, mystery, all things that are tied up with youth. And youth is the time when you're allowed to make mistakes. Wise and wisdom is for other people. Wisdom is for wizened old wizards. And I love The Lord of the Rings, but the Council of Elrond, which is the part of the movie where they all sit around and talk about what they should probably do next and what they've been up to for the last 3 years, is super boring. And if you read the books, it's even longer and more boring because they're planning, and it seems like nothing is happening. Because they're planning, and it seems like nothing is happening. Wisdom is for Jedi Masters. The first 3 movies, Yoda doesn't do much. He gets carried around by Luke, he lifts an X-Wing, and then he kind of goes and sprinkles away. He's rarely involved in the action of what's going on. Wisdom is for uncles that die at the end of the first act, and then we want to be Spider-Man. This is what wisdom is. It's those that are older, that sit around, that have the boring parts to play. We see wisdom as the voice telling us, no, don't make those mistakes that look so fun. No, don't go out and have your fun. Action should probably wait, but we want action. We like action. We've romanticized that and youth and said that wisdom in old age is boring. And so when we get to Proverbs, our instinct is to kind of, wisdom. But the good life is one that should be filled with action and fun mistakes. And Proverbs says, no, if you want to be happy, acquire wisdom. I know, but it's so much more fun to go out and buy what I want and to just do what I want with my friends. And the wisdom says, no, don't get yourself tangled up in bad financial situations. Oh, wisdom's so much fun. It's so much fun to jump into this relationship and we're just going to see where it goes, and probably a train wreck, but it'll be a fun until it wrecks because you get to go real fast. And wisdom says, no, take it slow. Think about where you're going. Make prudent decisions. The first 9 chapters, Proverbs is kind of divided into 2 sections. The first 9 chapters of Proverbs discuss wisdom and its role in our life. The last 21 chapters of Proverbs are a collection of wise sayings, which we will go over every one of right now. I want to spend a little time in these chapters, and then I'm going to have a fairly predictable challenge for you at the end. First 9 chapters of Proverbs begin like this. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. This is what wisdom is good for. This is what Proverbs is good for. For gaining wisdom and instruction. Wisdom instructs you. It tells you where to go. For understanding words of insight. For receiving instruction in prudent behavior. Wisdom helps us make the good decisions. It's prudent. We've thought about it. We've weighed the costs of both courses of action. Doing what is right and just and fair. In giving prudence to those who are simple. We're going to talk about who's simple later. And don't get too offended, because everyone starts simple. Knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning. So Proverbs is for the wise. Did you know that? Proverbs is for the wise. The people that already have wisdom will listen. So you let the discerning get guidance. If you don't know what to do, you need a little more wisdom. You need a little more Proverbs. For understanding Proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. I want to talk about that word fear a little bit, because I think we see that and we think, I should have some sort of God phobia, like afraid that God's going to show up at any moment, just be paralyzed in the presence of God, and this is not what we're talking about. I don't think that I recognized this for a while, but I'm kind of afraid of heights. Like when we go rock climbing, you put me on a harness, I'm fine. If I'm standing on the ledge, hooking up those ropes, I'm very nervous. Because I respect that ledge and what can happen if I fall over it. When you respect something, you heed the boundaries it sets up. So when we say we respect God, it means we're going to say, you know what? That ledge knows where its edge is. It knows where I've made up, and gravity will let me know. So I'm going to respect that ledge. We do the same thing with God. We say, all right, I know that God has set up this boundary here. And I know God knows more than me. So I'm going to respect that boundary, because whatever's beyond it, God is setting me up to take care of. That's a little bit of fear. We're afraid of what might be beyond that boundary. But it keeps us safe as well. It is more of an honor or a respect. If you honor or respect your parents, you're going to listen to what they do. So who then has access to wisdom? Or who needs wisdom? The simple, the fools, we see those. In a little bit, we're going to get into a few more people that need wisdom. And if you're in the Young Pros small group, I'm blatantly going to steal this from Andy Stanley, okay? Because it was really good. But where is wisdom? Okay, if this is supposed to help us, why don't we see more people making good decisions? If this is going to be how to live life, why don't people actually want to live this way? It's got to be hard to get. This is what Solomon says. Wisdom shouts in the streets. She cries out in the public square. She calls to the crowds along the main street, to those gathered in front of the city gate. How long, you simpletons? Just a note. If you're going to go out and yell in front of the city gate to get people to listen to you, you simpletons is probably not the best way to start. But I think the journey to wisdom starts with you feeling a little dumb. Anyway, you simpletons, you simple people, will you insist on being simple-minded? How long will you mockers relish your mocking? How long will you fools hate knowledge? Come and listen to my counsel. I'll share my heart with you and make you wise. And then if we jump ahead into chapter 9 in Proverbs, we see wisdom has built her house. She has carved its 7 columns. She has prepared a great banquet, mixed the wines, and set the table. She has sent her servants to invite everyone to come. She calls out from the heights overlooking the city. Come in with me, she urges the simple. To those who lack good judgment, she says, come, eat my food, drink my wine that I have mixed. Leave your simple ways behind and begin to live. Learn to use good judgment. Wisdom is literally going out and trying to invite people in. That's the metaphor that we see in Proverbs. She's going out saying, why won't you learn from me? She's out in the middle of Fairborn saying, who wants to live a life of fewer mistakes that they'll later regret? And people are walking by. Why are people walking by? Because wisdom is the veggie tray of thought. And you have all been at a potluck or a buffet where this happens. All right, so you get your plate. If you're me, you forget silverware. If you're smart, you remember to get silverware. And then you go and you're like, oh, fried chicken, because there's always KFC at a potluck. I don't know how. Always. And maybe some mashed potatoes. And then there's like potatoes au gratin, and that's really good. And then you find the like macaroni casserole, and that looks really good. And then you go a step further, and there are the vegetables, and you're like, you know what? I got a lot on my plate. Maybe on the second trip. And then what's beyond the vegetables? And then suddenly you're like, you know, maybe I could eat a little more. Maybe I could eat like a brownie and 2 cookies and a couple of M&Ms, because those are real little and probably don't count. We skip over because it doesn't seem like the most fun, exciting thing, but it's everywhere. It is everywhere. My wife and I liked to play a game. She would get up earlier than me, and she'd have the news on, and I'd stumble into the living room because I'm not coordinated in the morning, and she'd say, guess what a car ran into today? Because I don't know if you know this, it is not normal for cars to run into as many structures as they do in Dayton. That is unique to this area. But if I watch the news and I say, you know what? I see a lot of drunk people damaging themselves, their property, and the property of others. That's going to change the way I spend my nights. You've learned. You've become wiser. If you listen and spend time with our recovery ministry or hear about the horrors of overdosing that's happening in West Ohio right now, you will start making decisions to either turn yourself around or not begin along a path of addiction. If you see the broken relationships going on in front of you, you say, you know what? Maybe I need to think a little more about who I date, or I need to stop and hold off dating for a little while. Wisdom is available to everyone because everyone needs wisdom. It doesn't come with age, but experience. And it doesn't have to be your experience. It can be the experience of other people. If there are people that you see that are in a successful marriage, ask them how they got there, if that's what you want to have. Likewise, if you know someone that has been married numerous times, don't do what they do. There are, Andy Stanley listed 3 types of people that need wisdom, and I added a 4th so that there's a surprise, even if you listen to Andy Stanley's podcast. The first person that needs wisdom is the simple person. Proverbs explains the simple person. The simple will believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. So the simple person is the one that just doesn't know better. Think of the first time your child experienced pain. Like listening to me, apparently. What is the first thing that happens when that needle pricks them? Or when they get pinched a little bit? What is the first thing? Even before that, there is a look of shock on their face. Because they have realized that the world, which was warm and cozy and happy and soft, has hard edges that will poke you. We experience that same shock the first time we have a friend come up to us and say, I think I've gotten into drugs and I don't know how to get out. We have experienced that shock the first time we have a friend come to us and say, I think I think my girlfriend might be pregnant, and I don't know what to do. We experience that same shock the first time we lose someone that is close to us. Because we didn't know that the world would prick us in that way or what that would feel like. But once we felt that, the wise thing to do is to take steps to avoid it. That's the experience that the simple lack. They live in a world where they haven't felt those pricks. You may want to prepare them, but you can't always. Those with experience aren't shocked when the teenagers that are all over each other wind up pregnant. They probably could have seen that coming. They may have even tried to warn them. But the teenagers weren't wise. Life brings shock. Life brings pain. The wise learn from those moments of shock or pain, regardless of whose moment of shock or pain it is. In Proverbs, youth is not about going out and making mistakes. Youth is the time you have to acquire wisdom before responsibility is thrust on you. That responsibility and that wisdom can come from mistakes, but it doesn't have to. And it's an easier road if it doesn't. The second group of people that need wisdom are the fools. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. The fool is the person that knows better, but does it anyway. And everybody plays the fool. There is an area in your life where you know you shouldn't go, but you keep going. There's one in mine, probably more than one in mine. This is that bear that you shouldn't poke, but it's just so fun to poke. All right. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Wes. And Solomon knows this, because the opposite of wisdom in Proverbs is seduction. You're being lulled into mistakes that everyone says, oh no, little guy, don't go there. Wisdom is out calling out for people on the street, while seduction is trying to lure people down alleyways and into their houses. Solomon knows this, because even though God commanded Israel, don't marry a bunch of foreign princesses if you are the king. Because they're going to bring in their gods. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. So you talk about a guy that knows that seduction is the opposite of wisdom and has this problem. And guess what Chronicles tells us? Chronicles tells us that Solomon began to worship other gods. Solomon knows he shouldn't have done this. And this ends up being, so God takes away David's dynasty, largely because of the actions of Solomon, not following his own advice. If Solomon, the wisest man ever, is going to play the fool, the good news is we're in good company. So what do you do if you are a fool that needs wisdom? You get help so you stop doing that. That is the wise thing to do in that situation. You set up safeguards for yourself and you tell other people, I need you to help me to keep me from going here. And you follow up with them. The mocker. We have encountered the mocker if we've ever tried to correct someone online. I don't like chopping up verses like this, but Proverbs 9:8a says, don't rebuke mocker, or he will hate you. And we've all thought, you know what, there's a little bit of a fact wrong here. I think I'll correct that. Or we've seen someone do it and thought, oh, this is going to be good. And then we just watch. Because people don't want to be corrected. People would rather believe what's wrong and comfortable for them than have their own beliefs challenged. The mocker hates wisdom. The mocker thinks you're dumb for not rushing into all those relationships because look how much fun you missed out on. The mocker says, yeah, maybe you will crash your car into a gas station, but maybe you'll just have a great time before that and it's worth it. The mocker knows what's wise and goes beyond not caring. He cares and he thinks what's wise is stupid. Because the mocker, like the wise person, can take things apart, and the mocker can analyze them. Whereas the wise person says, I can make things better from here on. The mocker says, well, it's broken, so that's dumb. Mocking doesn't lead to anything productive. I chopped the verse up this way, because the last person that needs wisdom is the wise. Rebuke a mocker and he will hate you. Rebuke a wise person and he will love you. Because they know that when they are rebuked, they know how to do things better. They know that it's an opportunity for them to become more wise. Wisdom is not the same thing as knowledge. Wisdom is an approach to acquiring knowledge. What's interesting to me is that the simple and the wise both should want the same thing. The simple doesn't know what's going on. They don't know what they don't know. This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It means that the skills to evaluate, that you use to evaluate something, are the same skills that you use to make something. Which means, if you're bad at writing, you don't have the skills to look at your writing and say, oh, well, that's not very good. But you sure think you do. That's where the simple finds themselves. They don't know what they don't know. The wise person also says, I don't know what I don't know. So when someone rebukes me about something I don't know and they know about it, I should listen to them. That's the difference between the simple and the wise. They're both in a state of ignorance. The wise person chooses to listen. That's the big difference. So how do you acquire wisdom? Over and over and over. In fact, the first 9 chapters of Proverbs are written as a father talking to his son. So, go to your parents. I know a lot of you are young. You may not like being called simple. Some of you are young and have been through more than I have. Here's the secret, though, to listening to your parents. You don't have to let them know you're listening. You don't have to tell them that. Just take it and think about it. Don't outright reject it. Mull it over a little while. Cora's a pretty captive audience right now, so she listens really well. I've got about 2 months before she starts crawling away before I try and give her advice. Not just parents, but anyone older than you. Anyone with more experience than you. Because we know we're all going to be simple again, right? You may be wise, like you may be the wisest 5th grader, and then you hit middle school. And then you're done with middle school, and then you hit high school. And then you hit high school, and you go to college. And then you go to college, and you enter the workforce. And then you go to the workforce, and you get a promotion, and now you don't know what you're doing there. Or you get married, and now you've got to figure this relationship out. There's always something we don't know. The wise person just knows how to learn about it and knows how to apply that to their life in a way that makes their relationships better, their job better, and their relationship with God better. Look at your role models and ask them how they got where they are. Don't forget that it seems that some people's purpose in life is to serve as an example to others, whether that's what to do or what not to do. Accept God's authority. Remember, the opportunity to learn these things and to do all these things is all around us. I said I wanted to give you guys a challenge. I talked about the first 9 chapters of Proverbs, and there's more in there. There is specific advice about how wisdom applies to relationships, how wisdom applies to finances. I just wanted to give you an idea of what wisdom is. How do we get it? We do those things, and I want to say we read Proverbs. The other 21 chapters of Proverbs are short, 1 to 2 sentence wise sayings. It's hard to preach a sermon on them. Let me give you an example. Lazy people are soon poor. Hard workers get rich. Are you ready for the benediction? But they're easy to read, digest, and apply to our lives. So here's the challenge. 10 through 31. That's how many chapters of wise sayings. Guess what tomorrow is? The 10th! This is great! We have 21 chapters of Proverbs. We have 21 days left in October. This works out well. So here's my challenge, and I'm even going to I'm going to do a little bit of a model reading going into chapter 10 of Proverbs. So chapter 10 is going to get halfway done for you guys. This is easy. I'm serving you up a softball. You've not only got an extra day because it's the 9th, but I'm doing half of this first one for you. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down as free as distractions as you can get. I want you to pray. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It could just be, God, give me the right temperament. Give me the right mind. Don't let me be defensive. Help me accept what's in here. Help make me more wise. That's the perfect prayer to go into this with. As you read, find one Proverbs. This first chapter, chapter 10, has 32 of them in them. I'm going to go through a few, not all of them. Find one proverb and reflect on how that applies to a situation in your life. You will find one jump out at you. And almost every day. It will be different areas of your life. And it'll give you something to think about. And share this with someone. Now, share what this proverb means to you with someone. You don't want to go, oh, Cheryl from work needs this. And it doesn't have to be Cheryl, and she doesn't have to be from work, but you all know a Cheryl. Share what it meant to you with them. Because if you go and you say, I was reading Proverbs, and this really stuck out to me. And I think that I've been doing this wrong in my life. You read the Bible and something applied to your life? Oh, shock, horror. It's spooky. It's great for Halloween. That will change their approach to the Bible. I think it will change your approach to what you can get out of reading Scripture as well. And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire them to read some more of this too. So I'm going to start. If you want to read along in your own Bible, that's great. You can make notes. You can go back and read Proverbs later and remember different times in your life. We're also going to have it up on the screen. It is chapter 10. A wise child brings joy to a father, but a foolish child brings grief to a mother. Tainted wealth has no lasting value, but right living can save your life. So what's interesting to me is that tainted wealth is contrasted with right living. Is that a little weird? I don't think of I can have this ill-gotten gain or I can live rightly. I'll live everything rightly. It means a lot to me because I'm mostly a stay-at-home dad right now. That's my main job. And I really feel like I should be doing more sometimes. I should get more done with my day. I should be bringing more money into the house. But as I read this, I have to look and say, the days where I do nothing but try and get my daughter to sleep I am growing in patience, and I am showing her love. And those are both skills that will help her and will help me later in life. And so I got to rethink those moments now. The Lord will not let the godly go hungry, but he refuses to satisfy the craving of the wicked. But those mockers make it look like so much fun, don't they? They sure seem like they have just about everything figured out. And they seem like a lot of their cravings are satisfied while mine aren't. So there must be something they have that they want that they don't have. The lazy are soon poor, but hard workers get rich. A wise youth harvests in the summer, but one who sleeps during harvest is a disgrace. The godly are showered with blessings. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. We have happy memories of the godly, but the name of a wicked person rots away. The wise are glad to be instructed, but babbling fools fall flat on their faces. And you don't get to see that all the time, but boy, it's fun when you do. People with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will slip and fall. Why do people with integrity get to be safe? Like, if I'm walking along, I can't just walk out to the crosswalk as cars honk and be like, it's okay, I have integrity. That's not what we're talking about. So what are we talking about? I can walk safely knowing that there's nothing in my past and in my present that's going to come up and hurt me because I have integrity. I live the way I think people should live. No one can come up and call me a hypocrite. If you're walking a crooked path, you're in a dangerous road. Do you see how these work now? It's not a fast read. It's a slow, reflective read. But if you can take 10 minutes out of your time and just take one of these, you will begin to accumulate wisdom. And how cool would it be if we came together as a church next week and got to share the wisdom we accumulated after reading 7 days of Proverbs? Think of how much wiser we as a church would grow. Think of how as a church we would be seen differently if we just took Proverbs 10:9 and said, you know what, I've got to eliminate any crooked path in my life. And when people talked about Fairborn United Methodist, they said, you know what, I may not agree with them, I may not think that they're right, but you will not find a group of honest people who actually believe you can live a righteous life. And I trust them, and I am amazed at what they can do. What if we had that? That would be a great thing to share. In the middle of Fairborn, there's a place where you go and people actually say what they mean and mean what they say. And if we came together and shared, think about how our youth would act. If we were willing to go into youth group and share some of our mistakes, some of the areas we got wrong, some of the things we got right, and just be honest with them. Because, let's be honest, there's some things about my life I may not want Cora to know. But if I share them with her, she can be a lot wiser, a lot sooner than some other kids. So that's my challenge. Go out there and read Proverbs. Go out there and get wisdom. Begin to apply it to your life and just see where it takes you. Will you pray with me? Father, thank you that we have Proverbs, that wisdom is all around us, that no matter where we are, we have the opportunity to gain wisdom, no matter where we are in our personal life, no matter where we are on earth. Pray that you would help us to accumulate that and give us the courage to share what we're learning. In your name we pray. Amen. this is a tricky blessing because I really feel like what God wants to give you is in Proverbs. So I'm going to urge you to accept that challenge. And this is going to be my prayer for you this week. Pray with me during the week, if you will. Father, I want you to bless everyone here, myself included, as we embark on this. I pray that you will give us the mindset to learn, the desire to be open, and ultimately help us to acquire wisdom. In your name we pray.